Anywho, so I wanted to just hop on, say hi, answer some questions if anyone has any questions and things. Let you guys know what's been going on with my life. It's been a little quiet lately, I guess, just because I've been busy with family stuff. So what's been happening with us is our boy's nanny. She quit, I think, a week and a half or 2 weeks ago, something like that. She gave us 3 weeks notice, which I thought that's good. That would give us enough time to find someone new to replace her. And then, well, the day after she gave notice, she just stopped coming in. So that puts Lindsay and me in kind of a tough spot because, well, we both work. So it's like, well, who's going to go to work? Who's going to stay home with the kids? So it's been a little bit of back and forth between, well, mostly me staying home with the kids. Luckily, a friend of ours will watch the kids, has watched the kids like 4 days this week, which is great, but it is a little bit of a trip to get there, to drop them off and all that. So the time and able to work has been greatly reduced, but we have someone starting in, a week or so? So that'd be nice. So things will get kind of back to normal in about a week. The other thing is next week, I'm only here for like 3 days because my sister is getting married in a week. So I'll be out for a wedding for a few days as well. So next week's going to be pretty much a wash as well. And then the following week, get back into it. So there's that part, I guess. I will show this. You want me to show you some stuff? I can show you what's going on with the sideboard. That's coming together pretty well, I think. And that's really all I've been doing. I'm just trying to keep the guild videos going. I still have, I think, 7 more videos to produce on the sideboard before that build is done, which is pretty cool. It's been a pretty fun build so far. A lot of cool stuff going on with that thing. So there is where the sideboard's at right now. I just started working on the top. The bottom panels went in this week. The side panels are all done and fit. I took them out to make filming the bottom panel video a little bit easier so that I can get camera angles in different areas instead of like the back of my head the whole time. So let's see. Panels are looking pretty cool. I posted these on Instagram. Like, this is the side panel for that side. So something like that is what that side will look like, which is pretty cool. So this is coming together pretty nicely. Top is next. That'll be next week's guild video, and then the following week will be assembly and pre-finishing of the case, and then we'll start getting into the drawers and doors and small details and shelves and stuff. And then that one will be wrapping up, which is pretty cool. Pretty cool. Yeah. Let's see here. Hope my battery doesn't die. So I just thought I'd be out here for a few minutes doing this. I did get through editing a slabbing video today. Got that roughed in, so I have to go through, probably spend another hour or two doing a final edit on that. So I'm hoping to work on that a little tonight after I get done out here. So the sooner I get done out here, the sooner I can get inside and get some editing done so I can have a video for you guys this week. The sideboard top is going to be 3/4. It's still rough milled right now. I think it's at 15/16 or something like that. Yes, my next guild build after this is the tool cabinet, which would be it's much needed. I've been meaning to do that for a long time. Congratulations, Randall, on being a new grandpa. I did a bassinet and a crib already, which is cool because they've been cycling through my kids. I don't think I've ever worked with applewood. No, I don't think so. Dude, we're all out of beer. I drank it all. That's the problem with beers. They don't like self-replenish. They just drink them and then they're gone. And you got to keep buying more. How would I cut a 96-degree miter fold? 96 degrees. So is that the... Thinking about this now. So it would be like a splay. It would be splaying out, I guess. I don't know. You cut it at 40, whatever half of 96 is. 47.5 degrees. Something like that. Oh, that's a good question. Carl asks, I always see people using spalted maple. Why don't people use spalted other woods? Basically, availability. Spalted maple is super easy to come by, super common. That's probably why. It spalts really easily because it has a lot of sapwood, a lot of sugar in there. So it does spalt readily, but there's spalting in every species, but maple's a little more consistent and common. That's probably why you see it the most. What's the question I get most during these videos? This style of thing where I'm just jump on live for no reason, there isn't really a solid theme, which is nice. It's like a lot of like different and varietal questions, which is kind of fun because otherwise it's like a lot of times I get a lot of the same questions. But this is fun. It's always different. Billy, thank you. Thank you for the super chat. If you make your own beer, though, you have to wait for it to be like ready and stuff, and then you still have the problem of like you drinking it. You gotta make more. 96 inches. Oh, that's a. That was a degree sign. How would I cut a 96-inch miter? So like. The miter is 96 inches wide. Is that what we're talking about? So it's like almost an 8-foot miter. If that's what we're talking about, the same as any other one, probably with a track saw and clean it up with a hand plane. It's the same technique as a regular size waterfall. Like wood chips in my arm. Okay, I get back down the bottom again. Thanks for the beer money, George. I appreciate that. I'm sure I would like making my own beer. It's a whole nother like thing. You gotta like go down that rabbit hole of stuff. Like I need any more things to do with my time. I don't have enough time. An 8-foot long miter with no track saw. A circular saw with an edge guide is the next way to do that. And as you're making that cut, just be really, just take your time. Give the saw plenty of time to cut so you don't get any deflection. Keep the saw base down to your track, your guide, and you should be fine. If you're using, depending on the guide you're using, let's say it's, let's say you make one of those, it's like, yeah, let's say like use like a sheet of plywood as an edge guide. Just make sure that sheet of plywood is wide enough so you can't deflect it out in the middle. And if you can, clamp it in various places throughout its length so you can't flex it inwards so you don't end up with a curved cut as you're going through there from you pushing the saw into the guide. How about a super deep miter? Bigger saw? I guess. I do have some lathe projects that I've been meaning to get to. I've got a couple bowls I want to finish turning here. I've been meaning to do that for a long time. They're sitting here. I've got some more ideas. These are all turning blanks on here that's sitting there waiting for me to touch them and use them for something, which would be nice. Help convince me to pull the trigger on a new saw stop. I don't know. Do it. That's my first thing. It's like, hey, convince me to like spend my money. I love you, Steve. Setting up hand planes, I have a video on that and how I do it. I'm not a huge hand plane user. I have a few like varieties of like setups, mostly just like fine cut and like a rough cut, I guess. Most of the stuff I do is more set for finer cuts. But I do have a video on the channel. It's like an Ask Matt from a long time ago. I think it's episode number 6 or something like that, is how I set up a hand plane. And we're back down here again. It's jumping around. Forgot about how much this thing jumps around. Jordan says, whenever I use my hand plane, I just get bits and pieces instead of long ribbons whenever I plane the surface. Without actually seeing the thing in action, the best I can really give you is your blade is probably dull, or you're planing against the grain, or taking too deep of a cut. But probably your blade's dull. It needs to be pretty darn sharp to actually get those nice ribbons like that. Can I start building and selling log arches? I guess I could. I don't think I have any time to do that, but I could. I think that's what I've learned in life, is like there's lots of things you could be doing, but you have as much time as everyone else. My favorite figure other than Crotch. I don't know, man. That's probably it. Unless you consider like some kind of like color staining to be figure. I do like that. Makes it a little more interesting. Could I live with only a bandsaw for making rip cuts? Haven't you been trying to like get me to go all bandsaw for like the last however many years? I probably could. Yeah, I think you probably just need to have a hand plane just in case the blade happens to wander, or as you're fitting it, it might move away from the fence or something, just to make up for little kind of oopsie moments. But for the most part, you probably could. I mean, I cut joinery on the bandsaw just fine. And if you still have a jointer, for instance, even then, you can make all your rip cuts on the bandsaw and maybe just joint it if you're trying to glue up a panel or something like that. How much do I worry about things being perfectly square? At what point does the law of diminishing returns take over? One thing I think as you get into it and you start looking at your actual workflow and your processes, getting things square is great and all, but as you think about the way you cut things and you think about how things come together, a lot of times it doesn't matter if your cut is actually square. What matters is that cut matches the geometry of whatever you're trying to fit it into. And that's especially true with like any kind of panels, or if you're doing any cross cuts on case pieces. That's my favorite one. My favorite example is if you're doing a case and you're making all your cross cuts to make like the top and bottom, for instance. What really matters is that the top and bottom are geometrically the same. It doesn't really matter that the top and bottom have a square edge. What you don't want is like opposing angles on there from the top and bottom, for instance. You could have a hard time getting the case to come together squarely anyway, because if you're trying to put a twist in it, trying to put those pieces together. So it doesn't actually matter a whole lot if you know what areas don't actually matter. There's some like foundational things, like if you're making Morse and tenon joints and you want your shoulders to be square so that your case ends up square, that does help. But if your case isn't totally square, it doesn't really matter if you're fitting like a door into it. Regardless if the case is square or not, I'm still going to fit that door to that opening, and I don't even regard the actual squareness of the case when I fit the door. I just cut the door to the same geometry as the opening. If it ends up being square, cool. If it ends up being a trapezoid, that's cool too. It doesn't really matter. It's just a little more, I don't know, a little more finagling, I guess, if it's not perfectly square. But that's it, I guess. House hunting's all right. I haven't seen a house in a while. I haven't seen anything come up that's particularly interesting to us. So I think things are going to slow down again because we're getting into the fall and winter seasons once again. So unless something magically pops up during the slow season, probably be until spring before you actually see anything. Might even be a possibility. What kind of scrap pieces do you want? I got some crap on the floor you can have. Everybody take a shot. Where's my shot? My favorite hardwood to work with? The favorite hardwood to work with, I think, is always going to be walnut, because it just works so easily and so nicely. And my favorite like hardwood to have like in a finished piece is going to be cherry. I like the look of cherry a lot, especially once it's aged at least 6 months or so. Then it really starts to darken up and enrichen. But workability is a little bit harder than it is in walnut. Let's past my bedtime. Today it feels like it's past my bedtime. What time is it? Like it's almost 11. I'm exhausted. I was up late last night, and I was up early with the kids. So there's that, I guess. I don't have any molding planes, not yet. That's like a whole nother like realm of things I could add to my tool cabinet. See, a river table is ridiculously expensive. I don't know, what do you consider expensive, I guess. I mean, the stuff that I use, with the Ecopoxy, this stuff was like 160 a gallon, and the West system is like 140 a gallon or something like that. I don't know, it's not cheap, but I don't know, by volume it's kind of cheap compared to like the little tiny bottles of it or something. Sorry, I scrolled down again. A lot of places here leave the listings up in the winter. At least last year they did. How did I talk to local tree services to contact you? Plus, how do you communicate to them what measurements you would like? I only have one tree service that I work with, and that's my friend Brandon. And he found me. He was watching my videos for a while before reaching out to see if I wanted to like collaborate with him on a removal. And we've been kind of working together as I have time to go help him, or I guess help him, actually take the logs from the sites where he's doing the removal jobs, because he's running a business. He needs to get those things out of there. So I try to be as courteous as I can with actually going there and getting them from him. And because of that, and because I'm busy with other things all the time, I can't go and take everything that he has. But it's been a really good relationship with him. I don't really have the space or the time to be taking like all kinds of stuff from all different suppliers, I guess. So having like one solid source like that is super beneficial. But I think what you really have to understand when you're talking to tree services is just understand that they're running a business, and it's not really in their best interest to let you come and mess around and try and load up a log. They need to be in and out of there as fast as you do. So just be mindful of their time. They're trying to do a job as quickly and as effectively as possible. So if you can convince them that you can be in and out and not disrupt their workflow and not like mess up the person's yard, if that's something that's a consideration as well, and you can actually do that and prove that to them, and you can save them time because now they're not loading up that log or cutting into firewood and hauling it either. So if you can be a little more cooperative with them, I think they'll like that a lot better. Solid flat panel doors. It depends, I guess. They're gonna move, so you gotta plan for the door to drastically change size over time. It depends on how big the door is. So if you're doing like a 18-inch wide door like on a cabinet, that's gonna change like 1/8 of an inch over the seasons. So your reveals are gonna change as well. And it also depends on if you think that panel is going to warp as well. It's really up to you. I don't really think it's a great idea, just because of that expansion contraction thing. So you'll have some kind of gap changing throughout the seasons, which I don't really like the idea of. I'm sure there's some way you can incorporate a variable gap into your design, but I like to have my gaps and my reveals nice and consistent year round. Would I suggest a GoPro for starting YouTube videos? I would say no, because I have one and I never really use it that much, and it's kind of awkward and a bit of a hindrance. But if that's what you have, then go for it. I would prefer to use one of these than a GoPro, just because the angle is going to be a little better. You don't have that fisheye thing And you can also, I guess you can get different microphones and stuff for the GoPros, but it just seems like it'd be a little more of a hassle. But what do I know? I don't use that for actual filming. I use this stupid fancy camera here. Did I rehang my sign on? Oh, I'm gonna moved. Which one? I have a few signs. What? How far back was I? My sign on the saw. Yes. So this is rehanging the sign on the saw, and my experience with drilled holes versus a production shops. So the holes on the sign, there's 3 on each side. Because Ray cut that thing with the water jet, the holes are all absolutely evenly spaced. So it didn't even cross my mind that I could just reuse the holes and just scoot it down 1 increment. So that's what I did. Just move it down 1 increment, and now it's just 1 spot lower. Didn't have to re-drill any new holes or anything because the holes all lined up just by sliding it down whatever the distance between the holes were. And when I did that, I was like, I'm an idiot. I can't believe I didn't think of that. Any plans to come to Chicago? My sister's wife. Is that close enough for you, Kevin? I don't think I have actual planned visits to for anything. Thanks, Chad. Appreciate that. Any interest in building a kiln? Not really, I guess. Depends. After I move, I'll probably lose the ability to use my basement as a kiln. So maybe I'll look for something else, but as it is right now, my drying cycle through my basement is fantastic. I have really fantastic results with the lumber that I'm drying. It's very stable, very evenly dried. It doesn't move a whole lot. It ends up being fairly flat to begin with. So I have the process dialed in exactly how I like it, and it's not a race. That's the thing with drying wood. I know everyone's like, oh, I can dry faster and faster and faster. The faster you dry it, the more stress builds up internally in that wood, and the harder time you're going to have keeping that wood flat, and this is not going to be fun to work with. So as the primary user of my own material, I put the quality of the dry really high because I'm the one that's to deal with it if it's all like temperamental or whatever. Next conventions I'm going to, probably Makers Central. That's the only one I know of. I might go to Fine Woodworking Live again. I went last year. It was kind of fun. But Makers Central will be the one I know for sure at this point, which isn't for like 6 months. Times it anyway. All right, a couple more. I'm gonna go edit. So I gotta get stuff to do here, whatever that means. Oh, I moved again. Ah, it's so annoying. See where I'm at. There we go. Right. How many projects do I finish in a year? I don't know. 8-ish. A couple pieces of furniture and some smaller stuff here and there. Let's see. Yeah, definitely frozen. Let's see. I guess I will restart it. It's actually working or not. Sorry if it's working. I don't know if it is or not, and I'm assuming. This is working or not? All right, I don't know what's going on with this thing. Yeah, I gotta get a. I always forget. I gotta get an actual like Ethernet adapter thing for this laptop. I always forget to do that because the Wi-Fi apparently isn't good enough for this. I don't know. It's goofy. Yeah, I'm pretty tired. I have been up for too long. Didn't sleep. So here we are. Anyway, I will. And I don't know. It might be frozen again. I have no idea. It's telling me it's frozen. I'm assuming maybe it is frozen. I'm there again. The Wi-Fi boosted. The access point's literally like right there. On the other side of the floor. Right there. It's like 15 feet through a floor. And there's another one over there. Literally in the shop, there is an antenna right there. They both suck. I think crematorium is what it's going to have to be. There's no way that I can't not do that. It's like the best possible name for the backyard, for sure. A fancy retro tape measure. I haven't been to Menards, Scott. Haven't gone anywhere. I have both here, and they're different, but I'm definitely going to have to buy a hardwire thing. This laptop, which is great. It's like, oh, like I need another dongle for this thing. I guess I just plug into that thing. That would also work. Yeah, I think I'm going to head in and do some editing for a bit and then go to bed. Thank you, everyone, for stopping in. It's fun as always. I'll be back with a little more internets in the future. Yes, please have one for me. I appreciate that. Have a great night, everyone.